Yeah, I realized I haven't done the intro yet, and every time I've just said, just look at the camera and do the intro, and I've never done it. So, yeah, it's actually hard. Hi, I'm Scott. Welcome back to Twin Portals. Matías
Nice intro.
Thanks, bud.
Should we go around?
Thanks. Yeah. All right, I'm going to do a real one. Hi. Freaking Matías. Freaking Bailey. This is the real intro now. Freaking Beth. Freaking Laura. Freaking Scott. Welcome to Twin Portals.
Welcome to freaking Twin Portals.
Welcome to friggin' Twin Portals. We're a little bit loopy here because we're recording in the daylight for the first time in a while. Thanks, Matías, for coming out before 8 p.m.
Oh, yeah. Happy to.
We have a new energy. It's real weird.
Yeah.
I wanted to get everyone together to talk about Session Zeros. It's something I've been interested in kind of diving into for a while. I didn't want to make it like, here's how you do a Session Zero, because I think our viewers probably have an idea. They've probably done something like that. So we're going to be kind of talking about some of the side things, some of our stories about Session Zeros, or just kind of philosophies of Session Zeros. Before we get started, we're going to go around the table. Let's talk about who we are. Matías Valero, what are you doing? Who are you?
I'm Matías Valero. Hi. You might know me from past Twin Portals content. I'm a dad and a dungeon master, and I work on games and also do environmental engineering. I have done a few Session Zeros in my life, as well as written some like content policy type stuff for different things. And I'm happy to talk about it. We also, an addendum is that we're also going to actually have like our own little Session Zero after this. So this is like precluding some Session Zero-y off-camera activity. So just to frame your expectations, viewers.
We're in the mood.
Yeah.
We're in the mood. Bailey Fazzio.
Hey, I'm Bailey Fazzio, a longtime theater performer, nerd, D&D lover. Have done several Session Zeros both as a player and as a DM. And have also watched like professionals Session Zeros and talk about it. So I have a lot of just like different insights on why it's important and why we should do it. But also just excited to be here with my friends and talk nerdy stuff together.
Right.
That's fun.
Laura O'Brien.
I'm Laura O'Brien, and I have been playing D&D for 20-some years. A long time. And so when I started playing, there wasn't Session Zero. Like, it wasn't a thing. People didn't know what it was. And when the concept was first introduced to me and my gaming group, it was wild. And I have to say, I'm super excited to talk about the differences and how awesome it can be for a group.
Mm-hmm.
Beth Brophy.
I'm Beth Brophy. I'm a mom and musician and improv comedian and accordion player. I've been with Twin Portals for a hot minute. I think all of the minutes at this point, like 7 years of the minutes. I feel like I have done more Session Zeros than I have actually done campaigns. Some of the Session Zeros have been people coming to the conclusion, this isn't for me. Or that their plan isn't quite going to work out. And I also think that's useful in a Session Zero.
Yeah.
That's the point of a Session Zero, I would say. I'm Scott Hebert. I started playing D&D with Matías Valero regularly in, 2018?
Was it that late? Yeah, at least.
In 2018, yeah, maybe 2016, something like that, shortly after Eastland. I go entirely by my theater calendar. I've done two Session Zeros, one with Twin Portals, one with an outside campaign run by Dave Graham Mason of the Superior Adventurers Guild. But that's about it. And I had one campaign with Matías before we did Twin Portals. And one of my big questions right off the bat, thinking back to everybody's first Session Zero, how do you think it improved the campaign or whatever D&D or tabletop you played compared to the one you had done before it? After you had done Session Zero, what did it feel like compared to before?
So my first Session Zero was with a group that I had actually already played with and had played a full campaign with. And there was a different DM in the group, and he sat down and he said, hey, so I heard about this thing where groups do called a Session Zero before their campaign. And it turned out that everyone had a wildly different idea of what was going to happen in that campaign. And we were all like, oh, well, that's different. And it really set the tone well, and it really helped bring us all to the same page. And honestly, knowing that group, there was a lot of infighting in the previous campaign. And I really think it stopped the infighting, when everyone knew what was going on and what was happening.
Just for clarity's sake, and in case anybody who's watching doesn't know, let's kind of collectively talk about what Session Zero means just right off the bat. So for me, it's bare bones. I think Matías had kind of talked about it before. It was just getting the group together to discuss what the campaign is going to feel like. Mm-hmm. And for me, when I was dealing with the meta stuff, figuring out what characters would work well together, and if we had time, figuring out character relationships before we started session 1. That was it. Like all of the groundwork, the things I would put down on my character sheet if I was making a character with people instead of by myself, and then bringing the character sheet. So anybody else have different ideas, want to flesh that out some more?
I think the main point that I always like to get across in a session 0 is setting the tone. Is like, are we going for political intrigue? Are we going for gothic horror? Like, letting your players know and be fully aware what the tone of the whole campaign is going to be. Like, not saying that there won't be a little bit of smattering of everything in a campaign, but letting people know this is not going to be a battle-heavy campaign. So don't just bring in a guy who just wants to smash everything. Or if you do, this is the session where we talk about how can we have your guy in the campaign and make it work for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not about saying no to everything. It's how do we make your ideas work together?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's a yes and.
Yeah.
It's alignment before action.
Exactly.
Which so many people don't want, but they just want to get right into it. But like, it's so helpful.
Yeah.
The other thing that happens in session 0 that was very well demonstrated in Bailey's campaign with all of our femme players was Bailey made an excellent little speech at the beginning that says, if you are uncomfortable at any point, you can say stop. You can say, hey, that wasn't cool. You can just text Bailey. And I had not had a DM do it quite that way before. And I have to say, it was amazing.
Thank you. I do really want to make sure that I'm respecting people's boundaries when I play a game, and I never want to do anything that would make someone uncomfortable. It's a game. We're here to have fun. So I like to do a little spiel like that in a session 0 of just, this is what I'm thinking of the campaign. If I ever breach any of your personal boundaries as a player or as in your character, I won't know unless you say something, but it doesn't have to be in front of the table if you're not comfortable. Text me, shoot me a message on the chat, whatever. But like I said, it's a game. I want to make sure that everyone's having the most fun that they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else have things that they cover on a session 0?
I think there's kind of tapping into everyone's speech style, tapping into everyone's negotiation style while we are in our mild-mannered selves. So that if you haven't played with the people around the group, there's a sense of this is how you talk, this is how you ask for what you want. And then you have that framework before you're doing it in character in a fight.
I mean, I actually have a little list here for like later today that I was going to go down. So like, things to cover are like character decisions, right? Like, you know, who are you and why are they together? There's the setting, you know, what kind of place is this? What kind of tone is it? Like you were talking about, you know, is it comedic? Is it tragic, drama, something else? The schedule is a big one also. Like, what's everyone's availability?
Everyone twitched at that word.
Yeah.
It's fine.
The
Poor Bailey.
boundaries, you know, everyone's comfort levels with different things. And then just like what everyone wants out of it, you know, it's kind of the big question.
Yeah.
Why are you here?
Yeah.
For me, I ended up using it also as production stuff, like saying cameras, microphones, this is how we're going to use them. These are the things I'm going to ask. These are the things I'm going to ask you to not do, to do, things like that. Just to kind of understand, playing the game is great. Having all that fun is great. Putting it onto the internet takes a different level of skill and commitment on everybody's part. So things like handling arguments, figuring out when to stop pushing the rules thing, when are we just going to go? Things like that. Not talking over each other and not having side conversations. Super important when you're recording something for content, and less important but still rude to do at the table when you're doing other sessions.
Well, and on top of that too, knowing that you have a time limit.
Yeah.
It's a lot more different. It's different than playing at your home game where it's just kind of like, okay, we're all getting sleepy, let's go home, to we are committed to making an hour and a half or whatever of play.
Yeah.
So just making sure everybody's on board and aware for that.
Yeah.
And also in a recording where you have X number of sessions to get through the arc. That's what's got to happen, unlike our game where it was a 3-shot.
It was going to be a 3-episode, and we've turned it into at least a 6-episode and possibly more. We'll see how that goes.
I was going to say the expectation of number of episodes isn't necessarily like we have to get X storyline into. Well, I guess I don't know because I haven't done the storyline part of it. So I don't know how many of those decisions were driven by time in your head when we were doing, the 60 some hours.
You talking about like the initial Twin Portals?
The first couple runs when we were trying to do the session, manage time, and also stay under certain restrictions. For example, bandwidth limit.
Yeah.
When you're uploading things, you can't have the file size be forever. Also because nobody wants to download a 200 megabyte file if they don't have to. If they can get it done in 100 megabytes, they want that. So lots of things like that to think about.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways,
going back to our first session zeros and how they changed our perspective of D&D, I guess is kind of the essence of the question. Mine was going from one Matías campaign to another one. It was Skywild to starting Twin Portals. And Skywild was interesting. It was more of the first time playing with people. That was my first time playing with, I think, most of the people at the table. Mm-hmm. And it would have benefited a lot from all of those strong theater personalities getting together and saying, okay, what do we want from this? What seems fair? What's a good balance of everything? And deciding what people want to do. When we did Twin Portals, we had set it was mostly production stuff and then relationships of the characters and where do we want to go? What do we want this to feel like? That kind of stuff. So, and it went really well, really made me want session zeros more often. Like I don't know if I would do a campaign without a session zero unless the players and DM could convince me there was a reason why.
Right. Like if they'd already played together for a long time and they knew what they wanted out of it.
Something like that. Then
yeah.
I think that there's some cases where, like, if you have the same people playing consistently for each campaign, maybe not a full session zero, but at least if you have the Discord chat where you're going, okay, team, this is what we're looking at. Here are some things to be aware of. And even just doing that little bit of a talk before you start your first session to be, okay, here's what we talked about in the chat. Does anyone have any questions before we just get rolling? Mm-hmm. Like it's that same level set. It's very different than when you're with a full group of new people versus we've played with these people for 20 plus years. Let's kind of just get the idea of the campaign. The first time I ever DM'd, I did a session zero because I had heard about it from other podcasts and things that I had listened to. And I think I looked at it more from a DM perspective than I looked at it from a player perspective because I'd never run a game before. And I was truly like, I need to kind of get a feel for what this is and what it looks like. And I actually ran the guys through like basically a mini one-shot. I did a little bit of role play. I did a little bit of combat. I did a little bit of puzzle solving because I wanted to see how they played together, but also how they interacted with me as a DM. So it was basically like a trial practice session, more so than the like chatting and the data that kind of goes into more of a full session zero.
Totally.
I don't know if you remember that, but
I'm trying to remember which one it was because we played like a lot of like one shots for a time there. So I'm trying to think of.
I think it was the mayor's daughter had been kidnapped by some people, and you had to go save her
to a church. And
there was like a ritual that was happening, and they had to stop the runes from going off.
Had to be the daughter, couldn't be the son, huh?
Nope, it had to be the daughter.
Well, there was a twist.
There was a twist. Right? She actually ended up being the one doing the ritual versus the one who was actually kidnapped. Like she was the main bad guy all along. Because girls can be bad guys too.
They can.
Yeah, Matías.
Don't tell Eliza. No, it's okay.
Well, it's all right. We'll figure it out.
I think that, like you said, with a group you've been with forever, knowing each other, my current group, I put forward for our next campaign after one of the members defends her dissertation. But all I said was, do you guys want a grand adventure? Do you want political intrigue? Or do you want hack and slash? Tell me what you want, and I'll put it together.
Yeah.
And for that group, that's all I have to do. We all know each other. We all know each other's boundaries, each other's hard limits. So really all I had to do for them was, which one do you want, guys? I'll make it happen. Mm-hmm. And you guys decide who's playing what.
So all that can occasionally backfire. So if you have a group of friends who know each other quite well and someone is looking to play a character or class that is wildly outside their persona, subconsciously I have occasionally seen that there's maybe not overt pushback, but some resistance to like, you are a tiny, kind, delicate human being. And then this person was not just the murderous one and the tanky one, but very sneaky and villainous about it. And loving that role and not everyone else was comfy watching that. So that was really interesting to see those dynamics across the table after a campaign that didn't come with a session 0, because it was like, everyone's friends. We can just jump into this. We all know each other. And it's like, we didn't know that part of that person's subconscious. Cool. I also put down class distribution. If you get there and you're like, not one of us can throw heals. Cool. Or having a conversation up front, did anyone stack some kind of a Hail Mary? Do we have any way to get out of some terrible situation? And if not, that's fine if the DM knows that. But if the DM is expecting that you have something in your back pocket and you're like, we're out, boss, there's nothing.
Like a counterspell.
Right, that there's... What kind of game you're playing? Is the DM here to be collaborative? Are they like sneaky? I want to test you, but I still want you to succeed. Or is the DM looking to win?
Is the DM saying you better have your backup character ready to go?
Mm-hmm. Right here.
On the character or the class stacking, like you were saying, I was thinking about this the other day. That's one of the main reasons that I would love to have session 0s, because like I think I talked about this in our last chat of doing like an Oops All Bards campaign or Oops All Wizards or something like that. So you all agree that is the plan. But what happens when all of your players show up to session 0 all saying they want to be rogues? Do you as a DM or as other fellow players, would you want to be like, okay, well, if you be Arcane Trickster and I'll be Mastermind, and then you can be do you all try to split the tasks, or what would you do specifically, I think, from a more of a DM perspective of guiding that conversation?
Well, to me, D&D is all storytelling and like improv with lots of boundaries and help, right? So like from that perspective, I think it's just finding the story, you know, like you can have a party that's all rogues, and you can have like the high status rogues and the low status rogues and the creative ones and the brutal ones and whatever else, as long as everyone's cool with that. But it just takes checking with every player and asking, you know, like, what sort of story do you want to tell as this character? Is that compatible with what everyone else is telling? Like, regardless of class. And then, as a DM, you know, it just depends what the DM wants out of it too. Like for me, I just want to have memorable stories and experiences that people can hopefully enjoy. So I don't care what classes people bring, you know, I just want you to have characters that you care about and hopefully a party that you care about. And so from that perspective, Oops All Bards is great, you know, and like from like the mechanical perspective, then it definitely falls on the DM, I think, to try and make sure that things are still manageable and interesting when you have 4 people that are all mechanically doing the same thing. You know, they each have to have their niche or something, or like supporting situations or characters that make them stand out in their own way.
For
like
me,
a TV show.
Yeah, for me, I've actually had that happen where everyone kind of showed up with the same idea, and I'm like, okay, so I know where I need to stack the combat specifically. Like, where in this case they were all like sneaky players, and they were all very much kind of doing something roguish, and I was like, great, this just became a heist.
Yeah. The best.
That's not what we were going to do, but that's what we're doing now. And they all went, yes, because they're like, we all get to shine now. The bad part is when you get the one person who shows up as the paladin.
Yep.
And you're like, well, guys, find a way to make him sneaky.
I mean, heist is a really good example. You think of like Ocean's 11, that's like 11 rogues basically, but they each have their own like thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like there might be a bard in there, but you know.
So one of the questions I had, what sort of things are you hoping to see covered in a session 0? We got some things you'd probably expect at all session 0s, which we've kind of talked about now. What are the surprise things that you're happy you hear covered in a session 0? Or I guess that'd be the way to go. What's something that's come up in a session 0 that you're like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to make sure I keep doing that in the future?
Kind of like a stage manager, the practicals, timing, schedule, how long is the session, how long do we want this to run? And that's all up for negotiation, but making sure everyone's on the same page.
Getting those details.
Yeah, is someone showing up expecting a one-shot, someone else is like, this is the next 2 years of my life?
Right.
And averaging that if you can.
Yeah.
And then adding on to that list, how are we communicating?
Right. Are we text?
Are we using
we
Discord?
Discord?
Are we Facebook Messenger? Are we whatever? So that make sure everybody has those apps and is able to do that, and is also committing to checking those apps if you have notifications turned off.
Yeah.
Which I just learned my husband has his notifications turned off for all of his phone, which is why he doesn't answer messages on Discord all the time. And I just learned that yesterday. I told him you can mute channels.
That's why he's so chill.
I know. He just doesn't have anything bothering him
in
ever.
his lane, moisturized.
So happy for him.
I also think it's important to go over like small character beats that you can kind of cover in a session 0, not going, here's my whole character backstory, here's everything you need to know about me, but doing basically like, here's the short bio of she is in her 30s, she is a half elf, and she has a, like, say the background that you have just mechanically. You can go into the actual backstory of it during the play if you like to be kind of like sprinkle it in throughout the story.
If you're a role player.
If you're a role player, if you like doing that sort of stuff, I don't know, we're all actors. But I think it's important to at least give everyone kind of an idea of what they're working with, so that while you're writing your backstory, you can be like, okay, I know that we're going to have a half elf in the story. And originally I was thinking that I would hate all half elves, so maybe I got to think that through. So it helps everyone else write their backstory too, to get a picture of what everyone else is thinking too.
I think one thing that I bring up in almost every session 0, or like any one shot with new people, I'm always is just like, how do you know each other is a big question. Like, it was just kind of tying into what you were saying, you know, it's like a good baseline is you all know each other as characters. Figure it out. Figure out what your relationships are. Doesn't matter specifically necessarily, but like from that grounds, you can all trust each other as you play, you know, and that's really big.
I think for Twin Portals, what helped with me and Justin was just saying, okay, we became buddies and we share an apartment together under some stairs.
Yeah.
And bang, you can then picture enough things together that you can build a relationship off that just by that light improv play.
Right.
Just yes-anding your way out of that crappy apartment onto the straight, and then you did that thing in that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so for like a longer campaign or a one shot, you don't necessarily need to all trust each other in character, but you need to like have that expectation of what you're going into right out of character to know like, okay, our characters don't trust each other and we're going to play off that for this one shot and see where it goes. But if you don't have that expectation, that's just like what happens in character. It can be extremely stressful sometimes, you know? So like having that conversation up front lets you have those kind of stories without it being like an actually possibly like real life stressful thing, you know? It's huge.
One thing that happened in the campaign that I'm currently in, my husband is running it. He did a really great, basically like, here's what I want from you. And he said, I want us to recognize that we have all lived in this world for a long time. Like, you didn't just start in a tavern with your weapons and that's where you are.
That's cool.
So he said, I want you to give me 2 allies that are in the world that you've interacted. I want you to give me 2 foes. They can either just be childhood rivals or like your nemesis. And then give me a coworker, basically. So give me people I can sprinkle into the world, basically helping him build NPCs. But it helped us think a little bit more of how are we interacting in this world? Do we actually have people we know? So it's not constantly being like, well, do I know this person? Can I roll a history check to see, do I know this? If you grew up in the city of Neverwinter, you know people in Neverwinter. It's not like you, unless you were an urchin who grew up that's a story you can make. But it helps you build relationships and build your character backstory a little bit more. And you interact with people differently depending on if they're someone you are have worked with in the past to, this is my childhood best friend. And then that also gives the DM something to, you know, torment you with later.
And even if you're an urchin, you know somebody.
You got connections.
I mean, you had to survive childhood somehow.
So whenever we start a new theater process, you know, it's 6 weeks of rehearsals, we try to do some kind of table work on the first night of rehearsal where one thing I like to do is do a series of like 5-ish would you rather icebreaker questions. The content does not matter, but I want my cast to answer in character. And so to get into how would How would your character answer this silly, arbitrary, or very deep and challenging icebreaker question? And by the end of the 5, they're usually really locked into, that's my motivation, this is who I am, that might even be my alignment. So that can be really useful in a session 0 to be like, okay, blah, 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 here's all of you, all the technicals, get in the headspace. Don't tell us anything at all. We're not doing details, we're not doing backstory. Here is a very silly, stupid question. How would your character roll with it? For example, you can pick 2 creatures. One is your familiar, one is your guardian. What 2 creatures are you picking?
Ooh. Any 2?
Any 2. When I did this for a theater class, I gave them a famous animal duo. Like, you get Tom and Jerry. You get Timon and Pumbaa. You get Pinky and the Brain. One is your guardian, one's your familiar. But then there's really any 2 animals. And run with that.
Donatello, Michelangelo.
Yes.
Nice.
Flawless. But is that you or is that your character?
That's me.
Yeah.
Which is the familiar? Oh, it's Michelangelo.
Ninja
Never
Turtles as personality types. That's an interesting one.
Oops, all Ninja Turtles.
But I think it's really useful to have some kind of exercise to get you into the headspace of your character.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I started doing that a little bit with Mormo, thinking about his priorities as warlock, as archaeologist, and as theater tech. And sort of theater tech started bubbling up to the top, and I realized I was having more fun in the sessions thinking about how I would solve our problems from a theater tech's perspective instead of an archaeologist's perspective, or a warlock's, I guess, because I have more experience as a theater tech than those other 2 things. But it made
Ain't that how it goes?
Yeah, right. It made me kind of see my character sheet with new eyes and consider new possibilities, and I really enjoyed not thinking about myself as the class and as more as the hobby, which I didn't felt like it opened up more possibilities for role playing too.
You're not playing so much into the stereotype of being a warlock.
Yeah,
I'm a theater tech who also happens to have magic,
and I'm also in the camp of people who likes to not go to the extremes anymore. I used to be all min-max. Like our first campaign, I think I had my character's path scheduled out from level 1 to 20. I knew everything I was going to pick all the way through, having never played a session, anything like that. But now I just kind of roll with it and kind of get into the feeling of, all right, he was doing archaeology stuff, then he accidentally became a warlock, and he does a theater tech thing on the side just because he's good at it. And
accidentally became a warlock, yes.
Touched the wrong thing in an archaeology dig. That's how it happens sometimes.
Sure.
You push the red button, and there you are.
Yeah, suddenly you get visited by the actual, Phantom of the Opera, and you can make lights and sounds happen. It's cool.
I mean, as a person who's done theater, yes. Yes, absolutely. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. To what you were saying, Bailey, about like Jacob's idea of finding connections in the world, I think that's a really awesome idea, and it's something that 5th edition D&D kind of falls flat on in the books. I feel like the Player's Handbook and DMG don't really just the backgrounds and your ideals and flaws and stuff, but grounding yourself in the setting is so big, and I think they tried to address that in a lot of the source books. I
thought Xanathars did a really good job. It hit a lot of character creations, especially names. Names is the last thing I bring up. So.
Sure, yeah.
They do a lot. No, that's exactly what I was going to say. So great. On the character sheet, it always had a box for allies, and I don't know I think they might have called it foes too, but it never really brings it up in the player handbook of think about your past. Xanathars does a great job of here is family history. Roll the dice to see how many siblings you have. See if do you have an aunt and uncle in the world? Do you have children? It helps you think more broadly about creating a character versus always being I am a loner who's in the world and I'm seeking my adventure.
Totally.
It's not just 5th ed either. I mean, I started in 3rd ed, then went to 3.5. I've played 1st ed. I've played AD&D. None of them address background. So when showing up with a new group, that's another session 0 thing you got to talk about. Are we role playing? Do you have a background?
Yeah.
Probably comes from D&D starting as a war game, right? Where it was just less about your background. It was more of surviving the dungeon. And they had slowly, especially in 5th edition, they're kind of finally starting to come around to it, but it took a while.
Figuring out that that's what everyone actually wants.
Yeah.
Since we're on the topic, and it was on my list anyways, I was curious about backstory, and especially from DMs and maybe other players too. How much backstory do you want to provide? How much backstory does the DM want to see? For example, my first story with this, Matías knows that I've said it before, I prepared 3 pages of backstory for my first character because I was working X-ray. I had nothing to do. This is literally on the clock. I was getting paid to make my character.
That's amazing.
And then Matthias's campaign with us, the one we didn't have a session 0. In session 1, he's like, "Hey, guess what? Tarask, splat." And we wake up 1,000 years later, and I go, "What?" Yep. I think we all kind of did, and Matthias learned a lesson about session 0s too. It was very informative.
Oh yeah,
never happened again, did it?
I mean, I spent the rest of the campaign trying to like find ways to like connect your past to it 1,000 years ago, but we were also doing like a mega dungeon campaign, and so we were like stuck in the Sunless Citadel for like, I don't know, like 3 months or something, and so it was very disjointed.
Yeah, super ambitious and grasping like with shadow hands, trying to get people to come back into your thing because no one had a full idea of your picture, I don't think. I certainly didn't, and I wasn't a really positive player who was looking forward to working through it anyways. So.
Session 0 would have, we also had like 7 players. It was a whole thing.
Including people online.
Yeah.
And it was not set up for success. Anyways.
We had fun though.
So backstory, yeah.
I think from the DM perspective, you give me as much as you want to give me, but give me more than a sentence. I had a campaign where I played and I got pretty much the broadest scope of backstories. I got a good solid 1-pager of the person, a little bit of their history, things like that. I got one person who gave me bullet points of just, here's the things that I have figured out. Everything else I want to figure out during the campaign. And the last one said, like, it was literally one sentence of, I am an elf from this clan and that's all we need to know. And I was like, okay, well, but as a DM, I can't work with that. And you get upset that I don't put more of your character connections into the story, but that's because you didn't really give me any. As a player, I'm the person who also writes like 4 or 5 pages because I just want it in my backstory. Not necessarily that I'm going to give my DM all 4 to 5 pages, but I will give them like the shortened version of it.
I think I just realized what I was doing. I wanted to have the answers for when they came up at the table. When somebody asked me about my backstory, about my parents, what they did, where they met, all that stuff. But I never committed any of that to memory. And if somebody asked me something that I thought I should know, I then felt panicked to scramble to my backstory sheet where I hadn't looked at it in 2 months anyways for this piece of information that was already lost to memory. So I think that's what I was doing. I wanted to have the answers ready for when I was asked about it, but I never really was interested in it as it affected my character.
Sure.
As a DM, give me backstory or I'll give you backstory.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
If you don't show up with at least something for me to work with, and this is like not talking like a short campaign where, okay, we're going through this tower, but showing up to an actual campaign, if you don't give me at least something to work with, I'm going to make it up.
Yeah.
Definitely a session 0 thing, right? Like telling someone that, like, hey, is it okay if I make a backstory for you? Like, are you cool if I invent family? And that'll sometimes stop people, and make them think.
It's not even inventing family, but this person knows you. They know of you. You offended them greatly.
They know
you
your
don't even know.
darkest secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it can be informative if someone showed up with no work done into the character, then it's, do you want to play this character? Like, this doesn't seem to be resonating. Let's find something that does.
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
That was my thought that I didn't express during the 4 rogues sort of conversation about, or the full party of rogues. What that group seems like and why they all want it. Why are they so fixed on being those characters? Why is the intention so hard for that? And if there was a really good reason, I think I'd be fascinated.
Yeah.
But if it's just, I'm going to play a rogue because it was the one I saw and I think looks coolest, I'm probably ditching that group, because if this isn't the thing that's going to get me out of there, something's coming up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's how willing is a person to adjust off of their vision to meet the group vision? Who's willing to compromise? Things like that are sort of the big things that I would look for now in my experienced years.
The chances that you have 4 completely inflexible people at your D&D table are quite low. Not impossible.
Not impossible.
If we say like 4 DPS instead of 4 rogue, because 4 rogue feels like a World of Warcraft thing. But
yeah. But then convincing some of them, because if they're casters in any way, can one of you take some heals? For God's sake, can one of you armor class?
Multi-class.
Yes.
We start at level 3 and everyone gets a different subclass.
Or is the DM going to find some way to have this work where nobody has to be the healer?
I've also been known to throw a healer in as a DM PC.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's not fun to play the healer. I do that.
It's not. That was the first campaign I played with you.
I do that.
I had people who we know who are like, I'm just gonna fall into. I'm gonna test these new boots that I just made in the dungeon. I'm going to walk across this 10-foot spike trap, and if they don't work, I'm going to fall. And
by the way, Scott, it's your responsibility to keep everyone alive.
Hold on a second. We had just before this happened found the path around the trap.
I remember this trap. Yeah.
It was a 10-foot hallway with nothing in it. Walk around the trap.
Really helpful.
But you got some cool boots.
Everybody else walks around the trap, but the new artificer subclass wants to try the boots that they just made, and they go and they roll like a 6. I'm flying across and 10 feet down into the spike trap. Going, can I get a heal? No, you took stupidity damage. What are you talking about? Of course you're not getting a heal now.
He was playing a gruff dwarf, for the record.
Oh yeah.
On that though, rolling it back to the backstory talk. The one thing, if someone's adamant, like, I don't want to write a long backstory, I can't think that far into it. The one thing I'll always ask players is give me the why you are adventuring. Give me the starting incident. Give me the reason you're out here, because you didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to go be an adventurer. Or if that is, what brought that inspiration? Did you hear a bard tell a story about great adventure and dragon slaying and you said that's going to be me someday, like a Flynn Rider kind of situation? Or are you like you've been training to be a wizard your entire life and you failed out of wizard school and now you have to find out how to be a wizard out in the world? Like, I want to know the why so that I can play with that as a DM. Help, like, I need to give you those little nuggets throughout the story that help you keep building that way.
Even if it's just, I want to go make my fortune. Cool, I can work with that.
So you want treasure? I'll make sure there is treasure in the campaign.
But rolling back to the healer thing, a lot of times I get looked at when I'm DMing and they go, oh, automatically, Laura's going to give us a healer. So I've actually started looking at specifically my regular group and saying, hey, I'm not giving you a healer this time if I'm not going to. Most of the time I'm happy to. Like, it's a DMPC who does nothing but heals. But if I'm like, no, I have a specific DMPC that's going with you guys need to actually address healing. Because my group just assumes, again, a session 0 thing.
Yeah.
My approach has been frequently just to say everybody gets a health potion, make good choices, and go from there.
Nice. Bonus action to use it, to drink it?
Yeah. Like, not low friction, like you just have access to healing. So if somebody dies, it means I can like throw dangerous things at you without worrying about it too much. You have a certain number of lives, though, so be careful.
In our most current campaign, we don't really have a healer. We have a warlock with some healing abilities as a part of his background. But to justify that and basically make this dungeon crawl that we're doing, our DM made health potions just incredibly cheap in this world. So they're everywhere. Everyone can make them. Like, you get 5 silver and you get a health potion. And they're like the little ones, they're the baby ones. But so they're always readily available and you can find them. They're not 50 gold piece, like intense amount of money for a newbie adventurer. So that's just his way of making sure, like, you can still campaign and you can still have fun and you can do your thing. In this world, everybody has healing.
I feel like this is the equivalent of like a coffee shop.
Yeah.
You can go pick up a mocha latte and gain back 3 HP.
Yeah. Standard, right in the arm and a better.
One stand outside every dungeon, you know.
Your leg is still broken, but you feel a little better about it.
Kind of on that idea, I've also had like, okay, there's this temple that gives free healing. You gotta get back to them. Please get back to them alive, mostly.
Yeah.
But there's this temple. It gives free heals out to whoever shows up. They are true neutral. They don't care who you are. They will heal you.
Yeah.
And you can purchase healing from them that you can take with potions or whatever. And the cost scales with how much it'll heal you. So if you're brand new, here's a few silver. If you are a higher level adventurer and you're going to need serious heals when you need heals, you will have to shell out a little more.
Sure. So it gives them a reason to adventure, and then they're spending their money down as they get it and keeping the balance.
And it gives me a touchstone for them that I know they're coming back to, that I know for sure they're coming back to with some wildcard players, so that I can also direct the story from there.
Yeah.
So it's a multi-purpose temple.
Yeah. There's some systems that are like built around that. It's like there's the home base. That's like the only safe place where you can go to heal. And there's like not really health potions. And so each adventure is more just like, how far out can you go? Like how much do you push it before you have to come back? And that's a pretty good dynamic for like individual sessions. I like it. Like Shadow Dark's kind of that way.
It just kind of reminded me of PUBG for some reason. Like the further you go away, the more danger you're in. But that not related at all. Brain just went away.
I was just thinking Diablo 2.
I also like video games.
Still back to the all rogues thing. Like, did the all rogues thing? Did Baldur's Gate 3 coming out solve that for tabletops? Like, do people stop bringing these problems to the table if they can just fire up BG3 and it's like, what happens if I have an all clerics run? What happens if if it's one seriously evil person with some seriously good person?
The only people I know who play BG3 already played D&D.
Yeah.
So they already knew the problem.
But you basically mean like, did that solve the itch of they can go out and test that before they bring it to a live table?
Yes.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it definitely has helped me in like choosing characters because I've gone and played them in the game and learned more of the mechanics and kind of see how that works. I know it's not quite like even to 5e and there's like things that kind of are different, but I definitely have played a few different characters in that game and have figured out what I've liked just from that to playing at the actual table. I can't say I've ever just like, I've never played this, so I'm gonna go play in the beach because I don't want to play that character, so I'm not gonna test it.
I will say it's expanded my oldest kid's repertoire.
Yeah.
She generally likes to play a ranger or a druid. Like, give her one of those, it's probably going to happen. And then playing BG3, she looked at me and she was like, the next time that we do a D&D game, I kind of want to play a caster, like a full, like, mage. And I was like, who are you? I love this.
That's what I was going to say. Is if anything, it makes people more creative, I feel like, 'cause they're starting to really experiment with stuff and get those ideas,
Step outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me as a DM, I always just make my characters in the game, like whatever like the parties are that I'm playing with, to like test them mechanically and see like what kind of encounters are fun or like not fun for them. Like, wow, that monster sucked. That was really tough. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll use one of those next time. It's pretty good.
I like that.
Yeah.
You did research.
Yeah.
On,
oh yeah.
I love
on BG. I love it.
Yeah.
Matthias, you could probably like call that a professional expense.
That's probably too late.
Tax deductible.
Already missed the tax cutoff.
Going into back to
yeah.
character creation a little bit, and Bailey, you had said Jacob had a couple, and this kind of goes into my question a little bit. If you have to make a character that's going to be memorable on the fly, are there a couple details you gravitate towards? Like, is there something backstory or spiritual or something that is just a go-to for you that locks into your place? For me now, it's occupation. It's what does the person do, because that's what drives their day-to-day activities. So for me, I'm going to think, what did they do before this happened, or is this their job? Is fighter their job? Things, because those are two different types of people, but definitely both live in that same world.
Yeah.
I think as a player, for me, I really pull from that inciting incident a lot of the reason of why I became a fighter, why I am out in the world adventuring, because usually I haven't played like a much older character. I usually tend to stick into like the 20s, 30s age range. So that incident is usually still pretty recent. So it's not like she's had to dwell on this one thing for 30, 40 years and she's grown and had a lot more experiences. It's still pretty fresh. So like one of the characters that I had, she was a little goblin paladin. She became a paladin on accident because she stole a holy symbol off of an adventurer who was in their goblin cave while they were sleeping and saw that it was very shiny and pretty. So she wore it. And then the god started talking to her and gave her the powers of being a paladin. So she had to be a paladin at that point. And she was young, didn't know anything. So she just kept on going back to like, well, this is what I have to do. This is what it means to be a good paladin. And by the end, she like learned better. But it kept on going back to the, what if I hadn't have stolen that? But then I still like to steal things. So she kept on taking more things. So it
That's cool.
helped build that idea of how to play the character by going back to that moment. And that was what built her, and that's what got her to be where she was today.
Well, like a Jean Valjean that still likes stealing stuff and just doesn't stop.
She did steal a lot more magic items. That
he would have kept stealing things, but he was a good manager.
I have the exact same thing. All of my characters have a Y.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them. And that's what I have to always bring is, why are you adventuring? It really kind of brings everything full circle. Like, my current character in Bailey's campaign wants to know things.
The thirst for knowledge just keeps you going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you've done a really great job too, making sure that it's not just like a singular focus. Like, I only want to know about magic. It's mechanical. It's magical. It's how does that thing built? Like you've let that description really just build you through the story, and it keeps driving us forward.
They're an artificer, so it's
yeah,
it makes it easier. Like,
it makes sense.
How does that thing work? Can I take it apart?
My character in that campaign has a backstory that doesn't really apply in the tower, but I think it still helps make a lot of decisions, which is basically becoming a religious heretic of they were a deep gnome, and their entire village got slaughtered and wiped out. And so they hit a point of like, my gods did nothing. Heck, my gods, I'm going to go find some new ones, and crawled their way to the surface and are now hanging out in the light and finding new gods. But that sense of everything I believed would save me was a lie, I'm going to go find something else, has been useful as like, okay, there's no reason to dig into that backstory outside of this tower, but that driving force is still enough to influence decisions.
Matías, anything you look for when a character is bringing you something, or when you're writing a character?
Well, it got me thinking about, again, like other systems. Like, there's some systems that really give you a ton of ammunition for making a character, as far as like mechanically and just like ideas of what to do. There's a system called Burning Wheel that I'm a big fan of, but I've never actually played in person because it's incredibly complicated and you have to have like a lot of buy-in from your players to actually like play it according to the rules.
You gave John a Burning Wheel book like a decade ago.
I did, yeah. That makes sense.
Like, that name rings a bell.
They're beautiful books. They're lovely to read. I've read it a couple times.
Now I'm curious.
Yeah.
It's on our shelf. I can pull it for you.
One of the things that the book does is like mechanically when you make your character, you pick their life path, and there's like, you go through like a series of like 5 or 6 stages of like from like childhood through adolescence into like their adventure-ness, and like at each step, depending on your choice, there's like a catalog of like 50 different like paths to choose from, and some are like, if you pick one path, it locks off other paths. It's like very, very
choose
complex,
your
own adventure kind of thing. Yeah, and each one that you pick gives you like certain resources and certain connections, and so like by the time you've gotten to like your class, which is just like wherever your life path took you, then you have like all these things to play off of already, just kind of like built into the game.
Going back to video
cool.
games, that sounds like the Final Fantasy X sphere web. I don't know if the sphere notes. All right, never mind. Talk to you later.
I was a Final Fantasy 12 kid.
Whatever.
Sorry.
Yeah, well,
does it have gambits?
Not enough.
Oh, no, man, I miss gambits.
Anyways,
there is another version of that that is built for 5e.
Ooh, yeah.
It's called A Life Well Lived. We just used that for this last campaign too, and it does the exact same thing where it starts you off as a child.
Sweet.
And it leaves it a lot more open, so it's not quite like closed paths, but it does give you things throughout it, like, well, you were raised in a farm, well, then you have an animal handling proficiency.
Right.
And it gives you like those extra skills that are just a part of the background and helps you roll that mechanically versus just kind of, you get 2 skill checks. Doesn't matter what your background your story is.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah,
There's
that's great.
I'll borrow you the book next time.
There's a Japanese proverb. The first half is something like, a life spent in search of the perfect cherry blossom is still a life well lived. Is that the origin?
Probably.
I like that.
When you talked about A Life Well Lived, bringing it back to video games, again, it reminded me of the Intro to System Shock 2, where your character creation, it's a first-person shooter, but you have some stats, so there's some role-playing stuff. The way you pick those is you're going through the 3 doors, and you're picking your path. Am I going to go Army, Navy, Air Force? I'm going to get different. I'm going to get Strength and Constitution if I go Army. I'm going to get Dexterity and Intelligence if I go Air Force. I'm going to get Dexterity and Constitution for Navy, something like that. And then you do that 3 or 4 times to figure out your skill trees. And it's not super in-depth, but it gives you that little bit more. And in a D&D session, if you have, +1 to animal handling because of history with, grew up on a farm, things like that, those extra hooks for somebody who has like a crunchy brain who wants to know the stats, to have the background, the reason for that +1 or -1 right there, I think is something that would help a lot of people like me out right off the bat.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it also helps with, you read the player's handbook and they're like, well, pick 2 of these 7 skills right away. And you're like, well, I'm a fighter, so obviously I'm going to pick athletics. I'm going to pick probably intimidation just so I can be the tough, kind of scary guard dog person. But having something a little bit more of the background really helps you just make those choices, like you were saying, Beth. Makes those educated choices as a player. Not even that they'll ever come up in role play, but it helps you pick the solution to a problem.
And bringing it back to session 0, talking backgrounds with each other, motivations with each other, because if you've got this person who's on a burning revenge path and they're going to like set the world on fire in their wake, and you've got this other person whose goal is to heal the world, you might want to talk about that.
It's gonna come up.
Yeah. It's gonna be a problem, maybe.
Possibly.
It doesn't have to be a problem.
Yeah, it depends on the situation. I guess it could be like the vacation cruise in between the world changing adventures.
Well, I know sometimes you have to burn the world to heal it because then the seeds grow back. There's
a beautiful story there.
It also depends on the players, because if you're with the hard line, no, I am here just for the vengeance, and you're with the no, I need nothing but sunshine and light, maybe those 2 characters are not going to work well together. But yeah, if you can find the happy medium between them, you can grow a very beautiful world out of that.
Yeah. One thing that there's the Icewind Dale campaign that 5th edition came out with, told every player to pick 1 or 2 secrets from a deck of like 20 secrets.
Ooh.
And that was really interesting and very fun. It led to a lot of dynamics because some of the secrets were really serious and some of them were like totally trivial. And some of them also gave the players agency. So like one of the secrets was like you have a connection from the past that will like save the day for you, but you get to pick what it is and when it is. You can like name any NPC in the game, tell the DM this is my person, and then they have to like work it out. And like that was a really fun mechanic, and it like totally turned the tide of one session when we were playing when Patrick whipped that card out.
I love that.
But then also the secrecy in that campaign was really tough during the COVID pandemic when we were playing, because we were all over Discord and like trying to be secretive without like also making everyone like genuinely out of character, like a little tilted, was pretty tough, and you couldn't get that nuance of like being at a table together. So it actually felt like more real that way, like not in a fun way, in like a stressful way, and so had its ups and downs, but it was a cool idea.
There's a mechanic that it was an online thing that somebody sent to me. It's called I Know a Guy. And you can pop up at any time with, okay, we don't have the solution to this dilemma, but you look at the DM and say, I know a guy.
Yep.
And the DM gets to make up the guy.
That's really fun.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
And I have introduced that into my campaigns, and my players really liked the idea. We haven't had a chance to use it, but when I told them about it, I said, this is now absolutely a mechanic in all of my games. They were like, that is the coolest thing ever, because there are times where they just don't have the right mix to progress the story the way that I kind of need them to, or they want to. And it's really mostly they want to. I'm a pretty sandbox DM.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, house rules, settling on those in session 0. Do you ever run up to disagreements with your house rules? Do you have people who bring house or rules to your table that they want to see imposed? Have you had issues that you've had to resolve? How do you deal with house rules?
I think I usually bring a few house rules as a DM to the table, and they're very like cut in stone, where a nat 1 is always a failure. A D20 or a nat 20 is not always a guaranteed success.
Unless you roll 2 of them in a row.
Unless you roll like 2 nat 20s on an advantage or whatever, then I'm going to give it to you. But the idea is the DC is set. So if it's a DC 28 and it's a really complicated thing and you cannot make it with whatever additives you do, your party better help you, otherwise it's not happening.
Yeah.
That's not to say like combat is combat. I'm going to honor nat 20, but in role play and in the world, nat 20s aren't always a guaranteed for me.
Okay.
The other one that I like to do, and I did take this one from Critical Role, where a revival is not a guaranteed revival. It is a skill check done by the party, so everybody in the party must contribute in order for it to be a success. And it's whatever skill check you want to make to help make this happen, whether it's just I'm going to play this song in the background while the cleric is doing the ceremony, or I take out this item, I'm going to put it in their hand, I'm going to hold it I'm going to try and do a persuasion check, try to convince them that they need to stay. So the DM sets that DC where they all have to pass that number, and that's how a revival happens. It's not just I cast a spell and they're back.
I'm now picturing the bard managing to play the entire Hallelujah chorus in the background. We're playing Easter music here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rules around like conduct. One of them has to do if, everyone can get really intense and really heated. And I've been in situations where someone will hit the table. And I give that as an example because everyone can visualize, and everyone has probably been at that table where someone gets frustrated enough, they hit the table, they flip the table, they throw something, and this is not a place to live out the violence that is happening within our magic world. And how do we keep our bodies in check? Because we can just let the reins loose and fully live in that space, and are you still safe enough to play with that you're not going to have that kind of screaming, shouting, slamming things outburst?
That's adding to my session 0 list from now on.
Beautiful. Here to help. Ask for what you want is a firm one I love to use, that none of us are mind readers. And if there's something you want to have happen, we as a collective and as a DM are really happy to make it happen. Seed it. Please put that in. Checking in with Headspace. Where are you at going in? And then feeling safe enough to say, I need a minute is really important if you're not giving what you have in a safe place.
Yeah.
For me, house rules always come down to the DM has final say. If I'm the DM, I have final say. If I'm not the DM, I can ask for a house rule. I can absolutely be like, hey, are you okay with us doing it this way? But I don't get the say on that. The DM is the final arbitrator of what the rules are at their table. For me, my homebrew world has specific homebrew rules. Like there are set, I play 3-5, but I rolled spot, sense, and search into perception when Pathfinder came out. Because I went, that is the most brilliant thing because it is stupid to separate these all. And I allow them to use int or wisdom for whichever is higher. Other homebrew rules that I've added, rule of cool, as Bailey has said, will sometimes save you. If what you're doing is so cool that I'm like, you know what? There's a DC and the DC might be high, but let's see if it works.
You do it.
Yeah.
It's the idea of the rules of the book I'm going to follow. But if you can come up with a really interesting way to do that thing and still kind of be within the rules and not just be like, I'm going to use Mage Hand to flip this giant, you're not going to be able to do that. But if you use Mage Hand to throw a rock that can make a landslide happen onto the giant, I'm going to make you roll for it. But that's really, really cool. It's playing with the rules while still, like, I want you to be creative.
Matías, what was the egg thing that we had to dry off?
The egg thing.
We used featherfall. No, it was... if it got wet, it turned into an abomination.
Stone of
galore.
Yeah.
And it was falling, and we cooked up some concoction of featherfall, and someone threw in a wind assist to create like a wind tunnel as it was falling to dry it off before it hit the ground.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, the actual mechanics of this are bullshit, but Matías, will you allow this?
Of course. Yeah. That's right where my mind went to, is rule of cool is like the number one rule aside from DM fiat, right? Like, yeah.
I think the DM as authority, it's so important that the entire table buys into that. That at no point is there even a question of, is authority going to shift to someone else here?
Yep.
And if someone is trying for it, that the rest of the table is able to firmly push it back to the DM.
Especially rules lawyering.
Just gonna say. Yep.
I have a love-hate relationship with rules lawyers because I love it when they have the rules at their fingertips. Like, oh, hey,
Yes.
I
That's
couldn't
exactly what I was
remember
thinking.
how that actually, like, that mechanic was supposed to actually work because it almost never comes up. But also, that might not be how it works today.
Yeah.
Everyone's time is valuable,
Yeah.
so make
So-
sure you're using it appropriately.
Yeah.
So you can tell me that, yes, I know how this works, and here, let me cite the page. Bless, thank you. But also, there may be information you don't have. So you may
Right.
have to just trust me and accept that some things don't work the way you think they do.
We do a lot at our home game of where my husband, he is very book knowledgeable and he will read the books and he knows the story. I'm much more mechanic knowledgeable just because I listen and I watch so much D&D. So he'll say something that happens and I'll just do the quick, I'm not sure that that's how it actually mechanically works. Are you okay if I just like look up that rule real quick? And it's usually something that is relating to my character because I just want to make sure I'm being fair, and I do it from both sides too. It's not just always in the party's favor. It's, Jacob, don't forget you have advantage on that one because this person did a reckless attack and now you have advantage. And it's I'm just trying to be fair from both sides. But there's a boundary that you have to watch out for where it's not just I'm correcting the DM every 2 seconds because it's his game, it's his story. I don't want to step on toes, but I do want to make sure like everyone's getting that fair chance.
And there's also playing with that DM who's like, no, this works how I said it works, regardless of how it worked an hour ago. And I'm like, that DM I probably won't return to their table.
Fair.
In life, as in D&D.
Yes.
Going into the backgrounds a little bit, or back into character creation a little bit, we had talked about having secrets. Secrets
Yes.
from the party. How do you feel about characters having secrets that the rest of the party doesn't know about? Does that create problems? And how do you handle keeping the secrets and just working that on your own on the side?
It depends on the player.
Yeah.
Because I have worked with players who were like, I'm going to be the sneaky little jerk who goes and steals from all the other party members and keeps it a secret. And I also keep all this treasure a secret from the party members. And as a DM, I'm like, I'm not playing with you.
Yeah, that's
I am not facilitating this.
when it's sabotage, when it's undermining. That feels very different from, all 5 of us in this moment have secrets, which are simply things we haven't shared yet, that
Yep.
it may
Right.
not have come up. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a tightly guarded secret. You can't possibly know anything about the others, or know everything about the others. But I think there's a level of shame secrets are really powerful within a story. If there's something that a character is running from or still trying to hunt them down, seek vengeance, judicial vengeance, that can be a really powerful motivator.
Or if secrets have a connection to people's real lives. Too.
When I
Yeah.
speak of secrets, I'm talking about not my backstory. I didn't tell you who my third uncle was. I'm talking about things that would probably be brought up because they are going to significantly affect the party somehow in the future.
I have a great example of this because it just happened in our last session, in our last play, where we were met by this magical fortune teller guy. His name is Blizzak. And basically was like, I will read your fortune as it connects to people around you. So we each went in one by one. And the idea in the game is, right, you can only hear your one person's. But of course, at the table, we can all hear something. And we've had one player since like 6 or 7 sessions ago that got a secret note from our DM. During the game, we watched him hand it over to her. And she would not show us. She would not tell us what it was. It was supposed to be like very private and very secret. And we only just learned that it was basically a hit note for another person in the party. And she's been trying to find her way out of it since she got that note. It's made for some really frustrating and interesting role play because she's trying to be our friend, but also trying to figure out how to satisfy this. Yeah, it's been tense, y'all.
That's awesome.
And of course, the characters don't know this yet, but the players do. And it's been this fight of, like we want it to be good, we want it to be really, but is there a reason for our party to stay together if we're just noticing this tension as characters?
Yeah.
Like, I can tell that she doesn't trust me and she doesn't want to be like friendly with me, but at the same time, she still is here and we're doing this contract together. But it's that weird, like, is that a secret, or is that is this causing unnecessary drama? Is this something that's just really like interesting and intriguing that eventually we'll talk about as characters and we'll get through it together?
That's a really good thing to talk about.
Yeah.
I was going to say we have like session zeros, but we rarely talk about like the session 5 zeros.
Yeah.
Or whatever, you know, like after things have come to light and you're like, wait a minute, why is our party still together?
Why is our party still
That's a really
playing
big question
together?
that sometimes is tough to answer.
And sometimes the answer is simply we have a contract to fulfill and we're going to finish it and we're going to get through it. And then at the point of the contract being completed, then maybe that conversation comes out as characters.
Right.
And like, do we keep going, or am I going to go my own way because you stole one too many trinkets from me and now I'm done?
I have actually had players come to me like 6 months into a game and say, look, my character is not doing well in this party, and I can see it and everyone else can see it. Can I one for one swap their experience and their wealth and create something new to slot in? And I said, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
You tell me what you want to slot in and how you think you'll get them into the game. You give me a background to work with. And yes, we can absolutely do that, because in that case, that character, it started out that everything was going okay, but 6 months into the game, it was very apparent that character just did not fit.
It needs to be more normalized. That's really big.
It happens a lot.
Yeah. That's like improv essentials too, right? It's like you wipe the scene and do something else if it's not working very well.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
Although I also have had players go, no, I just have this really cool other idea I want to do. And I'm like, no.
No? That depends.
There's a line where you have to say, okay, but your current character is working. They're doing well. The party has really come together with them. They are kind of integral to the party at this point. Save that character for another game.
Yeah.
I think there's something interesting too to the idea of secrets. And do you keep them from the players, or do you just have them in the character? Because that's a great, like, I don't want to tell you everything in my backstory, but that's just like normal behavior.
Yeah.
You've known me for a long time. You don't know everything about me.
Yeah.
We've had some great talks where you've learned some deep stuff. Still don't know everything. And that's just friends. We talk, we have those conversations, but how do you bridge that gap between player and character and say, you guys should know this stuff just as players, but that risks metagaming. Like, now I know that she has a secret note in her backpack, so I'm going to go look for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Stories we tell.
I see it show up in the you meet in the tavern in the small town and go on your various adventures, and then somehow you end up back in a big city where suddenly these ranger types, rogue types, out in the wilds types have no business being in a big city.
Right.
Certainly not interacting with the local form of government, especially if there was some reason that they were kind of an outcast out in the woods, and that starts to show up of like, I can't show my face in that city, in that entire city. I cannot go near it. And if that doesn't show up until 10 sessions in, how do you as a party handle that?
One solution that I found for that the Wanderer's Druid's problem is just to care a lot about money, but like in a pragmatic way. You know, like I have a character in a campaign named Gao who's an owlin, and like he is a beastmaster, and he is just like, he wants to be out in nature and be with animals and learn and just kind of be on his own half the time. But he also wants to like buy conservation easements to like set aside parkland and preserve nature, and so you need to engage with society to do that.
Let's be very clear.
This Alkin's a grant writer, I can tell already.
No, he's not. He just wants the money. Someone else can do that part.
In this campaign, we are all playing very close characters to ourselves.
It's nice. It's nice sometimes.
It's really nice to just kind of be yourself in a fantastical way.
I realize that with and I try to make my characters so different, and each one is like, well, that's another I need to unpack that one.
Yeah, but that goes back to D&DS therapy, and it very much is used in therapy. It's very much a thing. My 17-year-old actually had D&D therapy.
Yeah, I love that.
It's amazing, especially for a person who is not neurotypical. That social interaction is huge, and the problem solving in a way that doesn't involve actual conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of therapy, player versus player, do you set rules on player conflict before it starts?
I do.
Do you have? Yeah.
Short answer, yes.
I set hard and fast rules about conflict in a... You can have inter-party conflict. Like, that's a really interesting story mechanic. But we are not going to take it to a level that also creates conflict outside the story.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We just had to do... We've been having stuff like that happen in our home game where we have half of our party who is, like, adventure-focused. We're doing this job. We're doing the thing. The other half of the party are little chaos gremlins. And that's totally fine, but it started turning into a time where the chaos was happening towards the party versus out in the world, and it kind of just kept happening to the point where we had to have that conversation of we're crossing some lines and boundaries here that maybe we didn't set up in the beginning, but now we're setting them up. We're saying that we've gone too far, and now we all know what our boundary is, and we're saying it. So moving forward, we're going to try something a little bit different.
As Bailey has said before, you can say at any time, wait, I'm not comfortable here.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay to not say that to the entire table. Like, we had that conversation. It was just me and Jacob having that conversation, not only as my partner, but as the DM saying, I'm noticing this. Am I crazy for noticing this? Or is this something that also other people are noticing? And that's why it turned into a larger conversation at the table.
Yeah.
It's okay to not have all those bases covered at session 0 because you don't know what's going to happen. But once you see it happen, it's important to go back and push that reset button real quick and say, now we know.
Yeah. For ExcaliburCon, I'm in the process of looking for DMs, if anybody knows. Hi, camera. Of DMs I'd be interested in playing one-shots at the convention. But part of that is writing a code of conduct for all the games that people are playing at the convention. And there's a specific section for PvP. And essentially the rule at the convention is PvP is not allowed, but there may be instances where the DMs will clearly choreograph to everybody that this is a situation where everyone, if you're stepping into this, some kind of conflict might happen in the party. So like if you're down for that, you will know well ahead of time. And that's just what you're buying into.
There's an arena and you're all doing an intro fight to figure out who's going to make it into the arena.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're going to have to fight each other.
Right. Or it's like the search for the mind control helm or whatever. And like that might come up at some point, you know.
Yeah.
Anybody else got session 0 questions? Or Matías, you said you had some stuff.
I my third act questions was looking beyond the table past D&D related topics, because session 0 I was thinking about, you know, like what is a session 0 in the rest of life, and there's a lot of words for it, right? There's like the table read, or there's like the pre-construction meeting, or any kind of planning session leading it like ahead of a big endeavor, right? And so my notes were mainly just, you know, like in the different walks of our life, where the lessons or the things we've learned. For some reason in D&D it seems extra pronounced. You know, we have this like very clear like session 0 is this novel concept, but like in parenting, for example, at the table, you know, like you're always setting boundaries and expectations and aligning with your children, constantly trying to.
And your partner.
And the people in your life.
I was a group home nurse for several years, administrative, and I went through a lot of trainings on forming groups and on doing tasks and doing... It's called person-centered thinking training. So it's not only working with the people that we served in the group homes, but also working with our DSPs, the direct support people, working with each other. And there are 3 stages to any group: storming, norming, and forming. Storming is you're just getting together and figuring out what the group is about. Norming is, okay, well, now we know what we're trying to accomplish. Now we are all coming together and figuring out who's what and figuring out who you're working with and just getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Forming is when the group actually has, okay, we know what we're doing. We know what we need to do to accomplish that, and we know what each other's strengths and weaknesses are. Now we can decide who's doing what and how it's going to be accomplished.
It's pretty good.
And that's session 0 in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think one of the most relatable comparisons to real life, other than the parenting, is also like job interviews. It's a great place to gather and set expectations from both an employee and an employer. Even like if it's a final interview and you're going in and you're saying, okay, I have familiar responsibilities where I have to be gone on Wednesday afternoons, and that is a consistent thing. Is that okay with this team, or is that going to be a deal breaker? Well, maybe it's not a deal breaker, but maybe we'd have to figure out, could it be every other Wednesday? And you have those conversations, and you tell them what your skills and your assets are, and they tell you how they're going to be used. It's the idea of open conversations. It's the idea of setting expectations and communicating. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a job interview and I've asked the big questions, and I've wanted to know more about, the job and what kind of workplace is this and what are the expectations, and walking out of the interview knowing that I was going to be offered the job, but knowing that I was going to decline it just from the way that they answered it. And that's kind of how I can look at a session 02 is this is kind of like the job interview for the group. Not like you're fired, I'm not going to play with you, but okay, let's set some expectations here. Here's what I am coming into planning, and what else are you bringing to the table, literally and figuratively? What are you going to do to make this campaign a success? Because it's truly a collaborative effort. It's not something where the DM does everything and makes it a success. The players are also a huge part of what makes the game fun and what makes it successful.
And we talked about like the DM who's out to win. Mm-hmm. There's also the player who's out to win.
Yeah.
And setting your expectations with that player is kind of important. But also coming back to the job interview, if you write it all down and send it in an email at the end, it's a nice thing to have to point back to at your session 0 5 months later, where you say, hey, we discussed this, but it doesn't seem to be working. We need to
reconnect on this. Yep.
Yeah. Do you guys have instances in life where you would like more session 0 action, but it's currently absent? Or, inadequate, I guess?
I started a teaching position mid-year, and typically our session 0 is at all schools. It's a week and a half to 2 weeks of in-service at the end of August, where you get to know everything to do with the school, the environment, and then really big important things like your emergency response plan. It is not really skippable. There's no cutscene, but when you jump in mid-year, you don't get any of that. Sure. So there's been this constant new and exciting adventures for me of my playbook, as it were, has big blank chapters that I don't know are blank until I turn exactly that page, and that the admin does not know is blank for me for exactly the same reason.
Totally.
I don't know a practical way to fill that in other than just discovering it on the spot and flying with it as
documentation
best you can.
Yeah.
And because what it speaks to is that the session 0, the 2 weeks of in-service, are crucial, are not skippable, and that I enjoy being able to be a demonstration of that, of like, hey, y'all, if you need proof, because every year some school board or whatever is trying to cut those days down to say, like, we don't really need 2 weeks to get a school year ready. And it's like, you do. I promise you. I promise you. I'm
proof.
Driving blind here.
And even if they had a list of everything that they talk about in those 2 weeks and could answer all those questions for you, they don't have 2 weeks to do it when you're starting on Tuesday.
Right. But I was hired on a Friday and started on a Tuesday. That there's no possible way to pack it all in. So when someone comes in last minute to a position, the position suffers, and I think it should, if that makes sense. The session 0s are so very necessary. Orientation and training is so necessary.
And was the previous teacher gone that Tuesday already?
I got 1 day with her.
So
It's
Better than nothing, but-
It is so much. And she's still in the city. I can still text her. We are friends to be like, help.
I wish I could do a session 0 with the universe before I had children. To like, I knew what I was getting into when I had kids. Like, I wanted kids. I wanted to be a mom. I did not know how insane it would drive me sometimes, my children just being my children. And I kind of wish I had been more mentally prepared for that. Just the extent of how crazy they get and how many questions they ask, and how, like, I had no idea how like me they would be, as much as people warned me. Like, I was not prepared to raise 3 of me.
and they're little and they gang up on you.
And they're strong and they're fast and they, they're amazing.
So great.
I love my children to no ends. They're the light of my life. But I do kind of wish I would have had just that moment of, okay, here's what is going to happen, and here's kind of what you should be ready for. I can't tell you everything because some of it is going to be like fun little surprises for you as you go. But you're going to have a daughter who is your exact carbon copy of you, personality, looks, and everything. So just be ready for that, and be ready to call your mother and apologize every once in a while.
I cannot tell you how many times my mom has looked at me and said, welcome to my world. And I went, shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up and walk away now. I can't say the things I want to say right now.
Yeah.
My midwife in my first pregnancy talked about this concept with the general loss of the village, that most of today's parents get to parenthood without a whole lot of baby exposure, that they don't have the aunties, the uncles, the cousins nearby having kids, so that you have this really intense firsthand experience. That's what postpartum is. That's what a newborn is like. And she described it that she has had multiple couples she's worked with where she hands them their baby that they just birthed, and that is the first baby they have held in their lives. And she equated it to like going to adopt a dog. If you have never seen a dog in person,
Totally.
what are you doing?
That is absolutely wild to me, because I guess I was the village for my sister. When she had her first 2 children, I was their daycare. I was a teenager, but the first summer of each of their lives, they were as much my babies as they were hers. So when mine showed up highly unexpected, I wasn't prepared. Oh, I was not prepared. But I thought I was. Like, I had some of those questions answered.
Yeah.
They were not mini me's, they were mini hers, and I knew how to deal with my sister.
Yep.
Yes.
I did not know how to deal with the little version of myself.
I knew how to take care of other people's kids. I was a babysitter. I grew up in a church where I was like the oldest kid for a long time, so I worked in the nursery. All of my cousins are almost a full decade older than I am. I'm the youngest on both sides of my family, so I helped raise all the babies. Then I had my own. And I was like, I don't know anything about being a parent.
Matías, as a dad, had you had baby experience prior in your life?
Very little. Yeah, honestly. I mean, I'm the oldest of like all of my dad's side of the family, and my mom's side, we're all pretty far apart. So it was just like random friends and acquaintances. Yeah. It didn't feel too jarring to me though. I don't know. Like
Perfect.
Yeah.
I feel like
we had a puppy.
It's similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I will say the dad experience, I think I was a pretty helpful dad of Eliza when she was born. But, I would say once Will was born, the second kid, that's when it really hit me, like just how much it is to have a kid like fully dependent on you. Like for moms, it's like the first kid right away. And then once you have 3 kids, I can only imagine it's even more.
You're outnumbered.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I only have 2 hands.
Right.
I can only do one task at a time. I can't help all of you paint.
Scott, do you have places in your life where you'd like to do some session 0-esque behavior activity?
Podcasting stuff. I want a session 0 before we ever hit record for the next 6 shot. We're going to say why staying in front of the microphones is important, why staying in the light is important, why staying in front of the camera is important, how the microphones don't move with your mouth.
Right.
When I have a session 0 with the cast for all those things, my editing life's going to be awesome. That's the session 0 that I'm going to have.
Beautiful.
I love
In
it.
like the next 5 minutes, we're going to have that.
Oh, we're going to have a couple of them at least. We're going to have a couple of them at least.
DM gets a session 0 and producer gets a session 0.
Oh,
Does that
yeah.
sound like a threat?
Makes sense.
I was
Well,
just
it's not
like,
a threat. It's just an
how-
acknowledgement.
It's just lived experience.
Oh yeah, it's. I'm glad you all have kids for a few years. I've been producing this podcast since 2018, so I got a couple years on a couple of y'all already, and mine have changed a lot as well. So,
Yeah.
and my village, I'm trying to bring along the ride with me. So
We're here
that's
for
my
ya.
stuff. My session 0 for kids was when I was 14 when my dad died. My session 1 was when I was 25, and when my brother-in-law died. My niece lost her dad when she was 1. I've lived through that pain a few times, and I have no interest in applying that pain to any other kids. So that was mine. I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to do this. I had kids around me all my life, nieces, nephews, all that, and I was never like, yeah, let me hold the baby.
Yeah.
And there's something to
that
be
was it,
said
so.
for the cool uncle.
Yeah.
There's
Oh, I
a
don't care.
lot to be said for the cool uncle.
Yeah, indifferent. Like at this point, I don't even want to be that. Like I was at the time, but even then, I was like, it's just because I had the video games. That was it. That was the only reason. I was a dick to
that
those
is cool.
kids. Like I beat them in GoldenEye. I beat them in Call of Duty. I beat them in everything. It was how I showed my superiority. I wanted to make sure that I was better than them. And now they're in law enforcement, so I can't do that anymore.
So you give them like a goal, like something to strive for, like one
Yeah.
day.
Yeah,
One
no,
day
no,
I'll
no.
like
beat
Vegeta and
Uncle
Goku.
Scott.
So no, like for the audience, if you're wondering how this got into parenthood so hard, so fast, when they all got here individually, they were all like, "Oh, it's quiet. Oh, this is nice. How long are we recording? 6 hours? 8? We can go longer."
We could just hang out all night long.
I actually got a session tonight, so I do have to get home at some
Yeah.
point.
I'm here on the very good graces of my partner, who is keeping my kids.
Yes.
My kids are both old enough to take care of themselves.
Bless.
So, anybody else have session 0 things, character creation things, last hits? Want to get out of here?
Have a session 0, folks.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
They're good.
They're beautiful.
You're going to be communicating. The whole thing, the whole reason you're getting to the table is to communicate. Start by communicating about your communication. Bang, done.
When this episode was pitched to me, it was pros and cons of a session 0, and I went, there are cons?
I didn't know. I was just trying to raise
That-
it because I hadn't considered it. Can
Yeah.
you over prepare at a session 0? Are there things that end up steering the session too hard in one direction or things like that? But it's all discovery. It's figuring out where everyone is and how everyone's going to have a good time together, or if that's even going to be possible, because sometimes it's not. So maybe you
Right.
just want to be able to get out of there. So speaking of getting out of there, sounds like people want to get out of here. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, viewers. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, we're doing a 6 shots, and Fems, Thems, Gems coming up with their programming, and we're going to start that probably April, we're hoping. April, May, something like that. We'll figure it out, but it's going to be coming up. That's these things. Woo. All right, see ya.